All right, we got a top five. Thanksgiving's over with, Matthew. We're looking at Christmas here in what, 2.5 weeks, three
Yep.
weeks. So we're gonna do our top five favorite Christmas movies. So we're getting to that time of the year where we're starting to watch Christmas movies. I know I have my favorites. What are your top five?
Well, I think you're the movie guy, and I started last week with the video games because I'm the video game guy. I think you should take us off on this one.
Okay, that's fine. So I have one honorable mention, and that is a movie that I was a little late to the party. I didn't watch it when it first came out, but I tend to watch it usually every year, and it cracks me up every time. I think the first time I watched it might have been with you, and that's The Night Before with Seth Rogen and what's his name, Anthony Mackie,
Yeah,
the Falcon, where they go out night before Christmas, and I mean the baby scene where the Seth Rogen, who's a Jew, is in the Catholic Church, and he's that. I mean, no matter
yeah,
what, every
yes.
year that cracks me up.
No, I
So
agree.
Run DMC, uh, them karaoke. I mean, it's great, but it didn't make my top five. So number five on my list is one that came out when I was a kid in the '80s. Believe it or not, even though it looks like a really old movie, it's not as old as people think. But I quote that line every year for Christmas. It is, I quote this movie every year at Christmas. It's got so many iconic, uh, things in it, and that's A Christmas Story. You know, between the lamplight and You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, and just so many things like his brother not being able to put his arms down. You know, stuff reminds me of that every year. So that's number five for me. Number four is it's a lot higher on a lot of other people's lists, but there's just other movies I like so much more. But number four is another movie I was a little late to the party for. I didn't see it when it originally came out. Uh, and it's a movie that my wife, your mother, absolutely hates, and that's Elf. She is not a fan. I don't know why, because I think it's hilarious. I love Will Ferrell um, in that role, and it's just they were going to make an Elf 2 and didn't work out. But you think about it too, because of Elf, John Favreau got the chance to direct Iron Man, which set up the MCU, which set up so much geekdom for the rest, for the last 15 years. So, I hope you find your dad. Elf is number four on my list. Number three is a movie that I saw in the theater, and I watch it every year, and it gets me every time, especially the ending, and that's Love Actually. So it is, to me, that's a Christmas staple. It's my generation's sort of Christmas go-to feel good type of movie. Sort of similar, like back in the day with um, movies that came out way before my generation. To me, I think that's one of the best. And it's got such, if you look at the cast and what they went on to do, it's amazing. What they did, but it gets me every time. It makes me laugh, makes me cry. Love Actually. Number two, and yes, it is a freaking Christmas movie. I'm gonna look at you right in the eye because I know who you are. Die Hard. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I don't care what you say. It takes place on Christmas Eve. When he gets the machine gun, he writes "Ho ho ho! Now I've got a machine gun" on the dead guy and sends him up the elevator. Like, it is a Christmas movie. I don't care what people say. I don't care that it came out in the middle of the summer when it originally came out. It's a Christmas movie. And number one, probably one of the most quotable movies ever. Probably the movie that, I mean, I watch multiple times every Christmas, and that's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. If you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you. I don't care how old you are. This is a great movie. I quote it over and over and over again. I quote it in the middle of summer sometimes. So it's just one of those movies that there's not a bad scene in that entire movie. From beginning to end, that movie is, to me, you talk about perfect movies, it's right up there. It's one of the most perfect movies, but it's a Christmas movie. That's my top 5. Christmas Story, Elf, Love Actually, Die Hard, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I have a feeling that we're pretty close.
We are pretty close. I think we have a couple that are different. Uh, most of it's just in a different order. I know we have two. I have one that's different, and we'll get to. You'll see. You'll see. So the one, my honorable mention, one that is just off my list is A Christmas Story. I like it. My fiance loves it. It's probably her favorite Christmas movie. I don't get me wrong, I love it a lot, but in comparison to some of these other movies, it's just fell outside of the top 5. At number 5 is a movie that I liked a lot. I've always liked and have gone back to it quite a bit. Is The Nightmare Before Christmas. That's one that is just that isn't on your list, but I've always liked that movie, and watch it a
You know why
lot.
it's not on my list?
Why?
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Never seen it.
I really like it. I've seen it quite a few times.
Is it a Halloween movie?
It's both. Bit of both.
Okay.
But at number 4 is Elf as well. I know Mom hates it, but like you said, it's got a lot of quotes in it. It's a very funny movie. And you can just sit down and watch it and have a good laugh. I usually watch it at least one time, if not more, around the Christmas time.
Today, I was at a Christmas party with Stella, my grandbaby, your niece, and they had a bunch of wall art murals of Buddy, in his elf, Will Ferrell's elf costume, and I was holding her, and I just kept going over and saying, "He knows Santa."
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great.
Number 3.
Number 3, once again, I believe it's a Christmas movie. If you don't believe it's a Christmas movie, you need to check yourself, and that's Die Hard. I agree. It's controversial, but it shouldn't be, in my opinion. It's definitely a Christmas movie. Probably one of the only action Christmas movies, but it's definitely a Christmas movie, and I love it. So at number 3, I have Die Hard. At number 2, another movie you didn't have on your list, but is obviously one of my favorites. And as a kid growing up, I loved watching this movie, and that's Home Alone, the first one. I love Home Alone. I love the defending your house from the bad people, from the robbers. I think that's such a fun movie, such a funny movie. All of the different defenses he uses. Burning the guy's ball cap with the torch, and the paint can to the face, and
the reason it's not on my list, I remember I was like 13 years old when that movie came out. I remember which theater I watched it in. It was in College Park, Maryland, when I lived in DC. And I think the reason that Home Alone wasn't on my list is I just watched it so many times.
Yeah.
And it got a little old. Like, I mean, obviously watching with you guys growing up, I wanted you guys to experience it and know what it was. But it's just, there was other movies that I just liked more. But
But I love Home Alone, and Ethan and I used to watch it all the time. So, definitely top 5. So I have that number 2. And then number 1, the point blank best Christmas movie ever created, in my opinion. Same as you is Christmas Vacation. Um, I mean, you're right. It is very close, if not dead on, one of the few in its category as a perfect movie. Um, Constantly, I agree. I use Christmas Vacation quotes in June. You know, so it
Oh yeah,
is. It's so good, and so many lines and so many moments from that movie are just
yeah, it is.
there are just some moments from that movie that are top five in all top five in all of quotes. So it is very very good, and
Oh yeah,
I
like
watch that movie multiple times a year.
every time I'm like going
Multiple.
down the stairs and I hit the banister there, and I always think to myself, fix the newel post,
Yeah,
and just stuff like that, like bend over and I'll show you, like
yeah, yeah,
at the tree, and it's just your mom and I even quote it sometimes where it's I'll say like, I don't know, Margot, just
yeah,
stuff like that. So
yeah,
to me, it's just it's so good, it's so funny, and it doesn't get old.
yeah.
Just because it makes me laugh every time. Now I'll tell you another movie you've probably never seen, and I do consider it a Christmas movie. And I watched it last year, and I almost made an honorable mention for me. Is Trading Places. Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. This was Eddie Murphy, one of Eddie Murphy's, not his first major like movie role. It was right there, like top two or three. But Trading Places with is so funny, and I quote that movie too. And most people don't even get it. Like I'll say a quote, and they're just like, "What?" Because I mean,
Yeah,
it is an old movie. It came out in the early '80s, but I tell you what, if you want to sit down and laugh, and especially like laugh and the way you used to laugh with the way comedies used to be, watch Trading Places. The premise is these two rich guys, Dan Aykroyd, like they work on Wall Street, and they actually commodity traders mostly, but they Dan Aykroyd works for them, and Eddie Murphy's like a almost like a bum, and they bet $1 that they could make Dan Aykroyd poor and like ready to kill himself, and Eddie Murphy uh, successful. And so they trading places. They traded
yeah.
places, and it's hilarious. So that's one that you should check out. And if you haven't seen it out there, check out Trading Places. You won't be disappointed.